The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
All right, it's been a while since we closed this week on a song, but we're back. And today we are checking out Bananarama's video for Venus. Returning to discuss it with me from the Saturday Evening Post, Troy Brownfield.
Hail Venus.
Hail Venus. Yeah. Venus is a cover of the 1969 song by Shocking Blue. It was the second single from the third album for Bananarama, True Confessions. It also featured the singles Do Not Disturb, More Than Physical, and A Trick of the Night. This song peaked at #1 in the US and 5 other countries. It's their most successful single of their career. True Confessions, also their highest charting album, reaching number 15 on the US Billboard 200. The song is a dance version of that cover, so it's got its own sort of twist on the thing, which is some of the best covers instead of just playing it straight. It was a song that was doubted upon its presentation, and it almost didn't get recorded for this album, and it took the band from their tomboy style to a more sexy, glamorous look. Troy, are you familiar with the Shocking Blue version, which we already talked about in the previous episode, but for those who may have just tuned in here?
Yeah. The Shocking Blue, they're a Dutch band, which I paused to look up because I was thinking Swedish, but they're Dutch. And it has a lot of that, what you consider this typical 70s instrumentation and kind of like a, very 70s rhythm. Some of these other Nordic bands, like a Golden Earring or whatever, they have that kind of presentation that there's not a lot of difference in terms of melody, but the Bananarama version is faster paced, and like you said, the other one is a kind of a jangle pop number. I mean, it is a very 60s inflected kind of song, and then when you move to Venus, in terms of the Bananarama version, it is keyboard heavy. It is dancer. It's fitting right in with the other stuff of the era. You would compare it to, Madonna, Duran Duran, Kim Wilde kind of stuff. I mean, it's that kind of pocket. And but one of the other things that's immediately identifiable about Bananarama is that all 3 women sing leads simultaneously.
Yeah,
they don't swap vocals like a Spice Girls or Destiny's Child or other so-called girl groups. They all sing lead all at the same time throughout almost every song.
Right,
which is a really difficult thing to pull off, but that kind of unique sound that they get is because it's all voices at once. And I think that they already had a fan base. The first big hit, at least in America, was Cruel Summer.
So used in Karate Kid. Yeah, people already knew it. So for them to come along with this, it was kind of a amplification. And a lot of people, it's the normal thing with kids when they hear a song for the first time. They don't know it's a cover. Right. And they also did a cover. They when the album with Cruel Summer, they did Na 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 Hey 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 Goodbye.
Yeah,
they had a cover, which was a hit in the UK, but I'm pretty familiar with. I mean, I think it's gotten used on commercials, shows, stuff like its awareness is more not from it being a single here, but maybe where it's been used in other medias, possibly.
Yeah, and they're also in that period. Bananarama was on "Do They Know It's Christmas" by Band Aid, so that's another reinforcing thing. And you mentioned the tomboy image. They were kind of purveyors of the one-sided sweatshirt, off the shoulder, like the Flashdance and stuff. You saw a lot of that, and in this, it's not so much glamorous as that they are like wearing like very current fashion kind of stuff, like
Yeah,
white denim jackets and the white jackets, stuff like that.
right. Yeah,
Because they spend an awful lot of time in the video in costume as different archetypes.
right. Yeah, definitely. And then they have the one where with the fire, they have like a black top and some like ripped up jeans, and then there's like a background. There's another backdrop where it's a bunch of like film clips playing really fast and behind them projecting over them, and then they've got white tops and like I think cleaner cut jeans.
Yeah, it's like kind of a strobe effect.
Yeah, and their hair isn't as frizzy in that one, I think, too. I think they're trying to do like heaven and hell stuff with them.
Yeah,
but are you like, were you like big time familiar with Bananaramas? I think we were talking about Huey Lewis and things that had a big imprint at the time, but maybe not so much. The awareness is kind of gone in the lengthy sense. I think they kind of have it. I went down personally, I went down a Bananarama hole today because I was like, yeah, I remember all the like, and I was like, I'm gonna listen to more Bananarama because I think the music, and I think this nowadays this music's still around. They call it dream pop instead of just UK pop music that came around. But there's a band I like a lot called Au revoir Simone, and they really sound like the child of Bananarama. And I never thought of Au revoir Simone that way, but
it's interesting because like Bananarama in a lot of ways is kind of like very just straightforward pop. Like I heard a rumor, they had a big hit with I Heard a Rumor, which is on the Disorderly soundtrack, which is a weird thing. But kind of after that, and this is getting, I don't know how obscure this gets for some people, but Siobhan Fahey left the group and co-founded Shakespeare's Sister.
Mm-hmm.
Which had a couple of hits, Stay and I Don't Care, this early 90s. And another person joined Bananarama, whose name eludes me at the moment, but that group kept going and they still reunite in different configurations of the four. and play. So they still have a presence musically.
They were a trio, one left, they replaced her, that one left, and they became a duo for a while.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Au revoir Simone because I hadn't heard them until Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh, okay.
And then I do totally get what you're talking about, which that Lynch is big on the dreamy pop, the chromatics,
like Beach House, and
a lot of those bands he's big on. But I can see that bridge. Following through with the Venus. This is one of those, I think, kind of archetypal videos of the era. I think even if people don't remember Bananarama by name or whatnot, they probably remember the video for Venus.
Right. Well, and also the Venus, the song's legacy went in like there's a women's hygiene product that used it in a very popular campaign.
Like Venus Razor, right?
Or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I can picture the commercial right now with that, with the song played on it. But yeah, this is a huge one. And Bananarama had some staying power through the 80s. I mean, they didn't get bigger than this, but they hung around and through the early 90s, I would say, in terms of being relevant.
Yeah. But one of the things that's interesting about the characters they play, because you've got the Venus idea, goddess of love, etc. So they do have some archetypal, like Aphrodite kind of costuming, but then they also go with a devil and a vampire
and a mermaid-esque type. The shell that what's that painting?
The Birth of Venus.
Birth of Venus. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Sorry.
Hey, it's late. No, yes. but it's different. It's all about empowering female figures, like empowering supernatural female figures. So they take the cue from Venus and they do these kind of, different versions of those archetypes, which people would write papers on today.
Yeah.
If Destiny's Child had done a video where Beyonce was the vampire queen and everything, we'd be getting like 500 to 1,000 words in time about it.
Right. And the funny thing is, like, these women, like, they look like they could. I mean, they look so well put in this and act so well that it almost feels like they casted actual models to be these things rather than just band people. Like it's
Yeah.
like like a what? Like
It
they're not
it
bad
is
looking
kind
women to begin
no, but
with their thing, but when they're put like that, it's like holy crap, they look like actual like supermodels they may have cast for this.
yeah, it's a noticeable byproduct of the video era that, musicians got more attractive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
true.
they usually point to the first big star of the 80s was supposed to be Christopher Cross right up until videos
Yeah.
exploded, and it sounds shitty, but, the guy had big hit songs, with Sailing and Arthur's Theme and everything,
Mhm.
but, and he himself admits, he's like, I couldn't hang with videos because all of a sudden, you know, genuinely good performers were out there, but they looked better in the clips, and Hall
Yeah.
and Oates admit they had terrible videos, but they were entertaining and they
Yeah.
had great songs. So it didn't really matter how stupid the video was if the songs were Out of Touch and Man Eater and
Yeah.
there. But Bananarama was a whole thing of like, you know, coming up on the back of they had MTV was positioning, they had Cyndi Lauper, they had Madonna, they had this new influx of female talent. And a girl group was kind of the next logical extension of that. And even though they were from the UK, it was like a very easy thing for them to say them.
Right.
Because, if you look, there's kind of a gap. And then suddenly, after Venus, you get like Expose and some more girl groups. For a period of time there wasn't really too much. It's a lot of female fronted bands. Like there was an era post Blondie of Missing Persons and a lot of female fronted acts, or acts with a female singer, like the Thompson twins had the alternating male and
Right.
female, but there weren't a lot of girl groups at this point.
True. Yeah, this video bust out that it's directed by Peter Kerr. Is it Carre? He cares. But he's no, he did music. He did music videos for the rest of True Confessions album, but he's notable. He did videos for Thomas Dolby, Depeche Mode, Tina Turner, Los Lobos, Belinda Carlisle, Fine Young Cannibals, REM, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. Like he was all over, and he did multiple videos for these people. REM's was Man on the Moon. He did do that one. He also, aside from music video directing, does one episode of Red Shoe Diaries. He did an episode of 6 Feet Under, a David Copperfield CBS special in the 90s, and also the movie, which was, I think it was pretty acclaimed little indie with Jodie Foster back when it came out, Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys.
Oh, wow.
He directed that.
Eclectic resume.
It's like his one feature film. Yeah. But I mean, he must have been well known in the back. I mean, to get like a gig like that, not that he was in like high demand for films, but there's a lot of big name people in that movie. But yeah, he comes here, and it's this is the 80s experimental thing. We're talking about different spaces in this movie with the women in power and where they're singing. Yeah. But there's one spot. There's a red room with a table and a clock, and it's like some sort of French mime thing going on. I don't know where that fits into this thing, but there you go.
There is a big element of videos in this era of let's just throw some weird shit in there.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. Like, go crazy. They also, the choreography in this is kind of funny, especially the three girls when they're just them supposedly dancing and singing. They have the arms. They have like the zombie arms that come like close to the screen. Oh, and then they do the Batsui. They do the through there. It's a trip.
I swear, man, if you had just come up to me on the street at one point, and you're like, Troy, how did anyone remember Dancing Venus? I'd have still remembered it. Even without, I could have told you that.
It was the hot moves of the summer right there.
Yeah.
Or whenever it came out. I think maybe it was summer. I don't know.
Yeah, I seem to remember it as a summer song. I mean, that might, I seem to remember it being kind of right around the same time that Tom Jones covered Kiss.
Okay.
Prince. It may not have been, but I seem to associate that in
Oh
my head.
wow. Wow. No,
Uh,
it's a fun one, and I would like it wasn't on my mind or radar till we watched the documentary, which it is featured for a good chunk in there,
yeah,
which surprised me. I'm like, oh, okay.
it's the devil picture. It's
Even
funny.
Bananarama, it's not far from Satan. But yeah, but I truly enjoyed going like sure I know more of their stuff and going down a little rabbit hole of even the
Yeah,
stuff I didn't know. I liked. I was enjoying. I was like, man, this is kind of in there and sort of a maybe Bananarama. A lot of their stuff could be a new to me discovery. So I'm kind of glad I went through this. It was in my wheelhouse of kind
yeah.
of
I think that Bananarama is also an example of England being far kinder to their pop stars
yeah.
in a long-term basis, because England, in Europe, really, they set up. We have Coachella and Lollapalooza, but they have a lot of festivals, not just Glastonbury, which is the one that we always think of, but
Mm-hmm.
the Hyde Park shows and all these different things. And a lot of these older acts still get on these festivals, and they might play only a handful of songs, but they're there. They
Mm-hmm.
go and play. And I've seen footage of later stage Bananarama doing some of these festivals, and the
Right.
crowd is just as happy to see them. And we aren't sometimes as charitable with
No.
people in the States, especially, let's face it, female artists
Yeah.
are not treated as well long term. I still feel like hip hop only gets to have one or two female artists at a time, and they shove them aside,
Yeah.
And I think that's something that the labels do. And it's unfortunate. And I think that that's the same way with female pop groups. And I think that they're at a period of time where the labels don't know how to react to a girl group like Blackpink, who's massively, wildly successful online, but they also come from another country and can't be controlled by
Mm.
American label interests.
I think America also kind of for a time obsessed on like the where are they now aspect. Like, oh, I can't wait for them to fail so we can now where
Yeah,
are they? Like, that kind of like intentionally dumping. And they for a time they would let an artist could build up because Bananarama didn't hit instantly.
yeah,
Cruel Summer was a couple albums and some of these artists happened, but once you had the one like downturn, you were out. And like
yeah.
Bananarama didn't most of the stuff post 91 or something didn't even get released in the US. It was UK only. But which is crazy, but
Yeah.
you'd
Well,
think
91 is a big, as we've talked about before, I think
sound
91
scan
is
and stuff, yeah.
huge turning point in who gets to play.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. But now we don't even like get to build. Like I was watching it's Chelsea Christer's guest of the show, her documentary talks about how we don't get to build artists anymore. They have to come out right out of the gate. And
Yeah.
if it was the same way back in the 60s and 70s, we'd have never had Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah.
Like we would have never gotten The Wall. We never gotten Dark Side of the Moon. Like they took a while to build up to the Floyd that's considered their big time, but bands don't get that opportunity now.
I had an article out earlier this week relative to when we're making this episode. It was on REO Speedwagon,
Mhm.
and they had multiple albums before they convinced the label to let them make the live album in '77 that actually broke them
Mhm.
wide, because they were cued by the Kiss Alive album. Kiss also had 4 albums before Alive really made
Yeah.
them Kiss. And if you didn't, you got that build up, you got that time to make a few records and everything. And especially in the post alternative, if your second album sucked, you might have had a first hit album in the wake of all the bands that got signed after Nirvana, Soundgarden, and everything.
Yeah.
You might have had a hit first album, but if your second album didn't immediately come out, they were done with you. You were out. And it devastated a lot of bands that could have been a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, some people that didn't get a chance to even bounce back. But the crazy thing is, when we back talking about the Spin Doctors, like that album with two Princes and Loomis Can't Be Wrong was like, I don't think people were gigantic, and then dead on arrival. The next one, like just done. And since, I mean, they still play. You can catch them in little places nowadays, but like one album, huge. Second one, like Hootie and the Blowfish. Granted, people, you have one of the biggest albums like ever made that everybody knows, and then everybody gets sick of. Like, I guess that's more of that than it is trying to prove yourself as an artist. But
this just came to me when you were talking about that. But another great example of this phenomenon was Sponge.
Yeah,
who had with Molly and Cloud.
I love Sponge.
Had two massive songs, and Cloud being prominently featured in Empire Records. Lots of people, and then they vanished.
Wax of Static was pretty solid. Their follow-up was solid, but it wasn't like enough to put, because they had Wax of Static and Have You Seen Mary, and then gone after that. Like they
even Bush to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Bush had a massively successful first album with many singles,
mm-hmm.
and then
Razor Blade Suitcase.
Razor Blade had Swallowed and Chemicals Between Us, and
Mouth, and Then they went a lot of bands started going electronica, and I think after Razor Blade Suitcase they went electronica. And only at the time, for some reason, we only accepted Radiohead's journey into that. Like, we turned on the Pumpkins, and then we look back at these albums, we're like, they weren't bad. They were onto something, but we were only ready for what Radiohead was giving us, like, apparently. But Bush went electronica with the Letting the Cable Sleep. That album. I think Chemicals Between Us was on that one.
Might have been.
And and that was that album, and like Smashing Pumpkins' The Door, they just turned. It's like, we don't want that.
It can converse. Another irony, my sons being 16 and 14 were looking at some videos on YouTube the other day that were like, how fast can you name these songs from the 2000s?
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. And I took massive exception to the fact that the 2000s completely ignored all of the Fueled by Ramen and emo bands.
Oh,
and there was like no
Dashboard
Confessional, no Early Panic, no Paramore, no My Chemical Romance. Like, they were completely absent, and that blew my mind.
Wow,
that was a massive subset.
What was the band that quit after one album? Of the didn't they have a song called One Arm Scissor?
Oh, God. It's not a.
Is it At the Drive-In?
Yeah, At the Drive-In.
That was At the Drive-In.
Red Jumpsuit Apparatus was another one of those bands.
Yeah.
But it was like completely missing, and like, wow, that's bizarre to think that they would skip
Spider-Man 2, guys. Come on, had Dashboard.
Oh yeah, Dashboard
on there. Yeah.
Dashboard.
Come on. Can't forget. Oh, geez. Well,
the Venus thing is great to look at, especially in light of you could do a whole subset of music videos that were featured in Hell's Bells.
Right. Yeah. Oh no, totally. Like, there's so much. She-Bop was in there. I was like, that's one on my list.
She-Bop. I think that the late 80s MTV also was in the process of giving itself way over to two things distinctly: hair metal and hip hop. And if you there was definitely a pop current going through the mill. I mean, Madonna was still Madonna. Michael Jackson was still releasing singles from Bad at this point. There's a lot of mill. I mean, Prince had Under the Cherry Moon, and then Batman soundtrack.
The Bad Dance was 89.
Your big artists were still releasing the stuff through the middle, but it was kind of ramping up into these kind of two camps for a while.
Gotcha. Well, Troy, after watching the video for Venus by Bananarama, do you feel taken by the Dark Prince, your Lord and Savior Lucifer, after seeing it?
I think that Charon's boat sailed a long time ago.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know, man. It's like we'll save this story for another day, but I do have personal experience with being accosted by a local religious figure for putting on a rock show. So it is it's
tuned.
something that I've been familiar with for a long time.
Awesome. Well, that'll do it for this week on the show. Troy, thank you for joining me. Before we go, let people know where they can get your happenings, read your things, enjoy your work.
I am, on Twitter at Troy Brownfield, same as Instagram, and Troy Brownfield on Facebook. And, my regular writing is at the Saturday Evening Post, where I do a lot of pop culture stuff. And then I write about collecting at graphicpolicy.com.
Excellent. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brad4KUHD, written work at whysobblue.com. That's it for today. Until next time, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.